If you are sleeping on ELSA Bloodstone, I need you to wake up. This card is going to be insane. Guys, this is a very, very special Snapper Pass video for me because I have actually already experimented with ELSA Bloodstone. I was fortunate enough to be chosen to do the community spotlight on the official Marvel Snap channel. It's going to be out sometime next week, so stay tuned. That video will have gameplay, but I've already asked and I was allowed to talk about the mechanics of the card in my Snapper Pass content right here, but the gameplay is going to be staying for that video, so definitely check it out when it's released. But for today, we get to talk about the ins and outs of ELSA Bloodstone, and there are a lot of interesting mechanics and interactions with other cards that I have discovered. But oh my goodness, every single time I got to play this card, she is so strong. You cannot sleep on ELSA. Okay, she's gonna fill in a lot of decks. There's no problem. Think about this, just stats, okay? Just stats in your typical lineup play. You get 2-5 out of this card, that's fantastic. You get 2-8, you're winning. That's so good for 2 energy. But then on top of that, her condition to fill a location, you're already naturally wanting to do that. So it's not a difficult condition to meet, and it gets a great power return. This card is cracked. So the other thing I want to talk about really quick before we move into the mechanics, because I'm excited to get there, we got the spotlight caches, right? So with a season pass, there's going to be 3 cards available in the spotlight caches because Elsa's variant right here is going to be in the season pass, which is great. You can collect it that way. But the 3 cards showcased are Thanos, X-23, and Echo. X-23 is a pretty decent card. It's not seen in too many deck lists, but it is occasionally run in a lot of Destroy. Thanos, fantastic pickup. It's been a good card since it's been released. And Echo, not so great. Not seen a whole lot, but maybe she'll have her time to shine at some point. These are all Series 5 cards, so if you don't have any, you want to pick them up, it's not a bad time to open up the spotlight caches. For me personally, I'm passing on the spotlight caches, but I'll tell you right now, obviously, I am not passing on ELSA Bloodstone. Hey, when it's a season pass card, it's an easy pickup in my mind. So anyways, let's get into the mechanics of ELSA. All right, so this one's getting the old Drewberry stamp of approval at the bottom there. I usually do a lot of work to make sure that the mechanics I talk about are actually accurate, and I would say I have like a 90%, rate of being correct, but there is the occasional one that slips by that I think it should work this way and then it doesn't, etc. So these ones though, these are tried and true. I can actually say that this is 100% how it works, and not to mention a lot of people in my star ratings video were trying to tell me that she has an ongoing tag because it was in the trailer. She does not have an ongoing tag. She does not, okay? The text that I just showed you, that is her actual text on the card. This is how ELSA Bloodstone works. Tokens do not activate her ability. Way back when I saw this first data mine, I thought, oh, that'd be great with Brood. But the Broodlings will not activate her ability, so that's not a very good combination. You have to actually play the 4th card in the location, the 4th quadrant, to receive her buff. But it can't be ELSA herself. She's not going to buff herself. It says that in the text, but just clarifying that for you all here today. And then also, the card must be face up to buff other cards. Now, I want to clarify this because there's been a few things kicking around on Twitter and whatnot. It was said that ELSA doesn't buff any cards that are played on the same turn as her. That is correct in the sense that if she is the last card played, she's not going to look back and realize that card was played in the 4th spot and she's going to give it the buff. No, turn order, play order does matter a lot with this card. If you plan on getting a buff out of ELSA, you're going to want to make sure that you have her on the board or you play her first before you play that card in the 4th quadrant, or else you're going to lose out on 3 power. Okay, so just keep that in mind. She needs to be able to see the cards. And I assume that this would have some implications that, like, if you were playing behind Invisible Woman and ELSA somehow got destroyed by like Lady Deathstrike or something, she's not going to remember. It's not going to be like one of those Forge things where Forge from the grave can send 3 power. Like she's gone. She's not going to remember to give that card power. It's not going to get the buff. So just keep that in mind. Another thing is the Arnim Zola copies or anything that's generating a copy. If it's not a played card, it's not going to get her buff. So Arnim Zola destroys a card and then 2 copies fill 2 locations. Sorry, you're not getting Elsa's buff. But something that does get her buff, and in my testing, this is the most broken combo probably. Well, there's 2 cards, but this is really crazy. Mysterio. Okay, Mysterio clones are all played cards. If you manage to get 3 cards at each location, you play Mysterio on turn 6. That's all going to fill. That's going to be 9 power plus the 4. That's 13. And then on top of that, if you were able to bast Mysterio beforehand, that is this 9 power just from the Bast effect, and then 9 power from the ELSA effect. That would be 18 if they're all in the final slots. And that's not even like considering other buffs or other shenanigans that you're maybe trying to do. So like Mysterio and ELSA Bloodstone are a fantastic combo. And one of the weaknesses I would say is that it's kind of difficult to get to the point of actually filling a location in time so you can really ramp up those buffs. So Mysterio just filling up positions on your board helps a lot. All right, and then let's talk about move cards. So let's say a card is moved into the 4th spot. That will not get her buff, right? It has to be a played card. Now, if you play a move card in the 4th spot, like Jeff, like Nightcrawler, like Vision, they're going to get the buff, and then they can move off, and you're free to just go again. So I just love the line of like playing Nightcrawler, getting him to 5, moving him, Jeff to 6, moving him over, Vision to 11, moving him over a whole bunch, Spider-Man to 8. Like there is a lot of value to be had in the tempo move decks, which is a bit of a spoiler to my deck list that I'm going to show you guys in a minute, okay? And then the next thing is that her buff is late in the turn order. So something I wanted to do was Shuri as the 3rd spot, and then I have Elsa on the board, and then the 4th card would be like Red Skull or Vision, okay? So I'm using Vision as an example again here. Basically what happened is I played Vision, he doubled in power from Shuri, then received the buff from Elsa. Didn't matter when the cards were played or anything like that. Shuri activated first, Elsa was later. So that's a downside because the alternative would have given Vision 11 power and then Shuri would double to 22. Instead, I ended up with a 19 power Vision. So something to keep in mind. And lastly, I saw this kicking around, so just want to clarify, one card played in the Space Throne does in fact fill that location, so ELSA will buff it. You just play one thing there, it's going to get the +3 power, which is pretty sick, actually. You don't have to worry about filling that location up a bunch, and if you do have some move cards, you can move them off and use that one spot at the Space Throne as a value generator. But another thing is if you decide to play Jeff there because you're thinking, oh, it's filled, and Jeff will just fill it even more. No, it's actually been filled. That condition has been met, so Jeff's not going to receive that +3 power. Okay, so that is the mechanics that I discovered. Maybe there's some kicking around, but I thought these were the main ones that kind of really summarize her overall effect, how she's going to impact this the metagame as well. These mechanics are crazy, a lot of value to be had, so much power generation. I really love ELSA Bloodstone. This is such a fantastic card. Not to mention that when the official Marvel Snap gameplay video comes out of my deck list and all that good stuff, it's going to be my birthday, guys. So definitely, you got to head over there. You got to say happy birthday, and I hope to see you all check out that video. Now, enough of that. Let's get to some of the pros and cons of ELSA Bloodstone. All right, so this is a bit funnier. Okay, so the pros, maybe I'm blind. You guys can tell me in the comments below if you think something is not good about this card. All I see is that this is going to get nerfed. That could be honestly a con in my eyes. But the pros here, 2/5 return after 1 buff, fantastic value. Just scales. It's so much power to be had. It synergizes with top meta decks that I'm going to show you in a bit, but like decks that have been very good for like the last 3-4 months. You could straight up put ELSA in just about any deck, and if you activate that once, you get a good return. And this could, and it just scales from there if you can do it multiple times. Really, in a normal deck, if you're not bouncing or moving anything, you have the ability or possibility, that is, to fill 3 locations. That is 3, 6, 9 power on top of her 2. That's 11 power for 2 energy. Like that is just worth putting in a lot of decks. Might be difficult to fill all those locations, but there's a lot of ways that can be done, okay? Another thing is that it's great early and great late. You throw down ELSA early, you don't have to worry about playing her later. You also don't have to worry about her getting destroyed because she's not a 1-drop like for Killmonger fodder or anything like that. She doesn't have 9 power so Shang-Chi can't get her. Like there's a lot that can't go wrong. She can't get Enchantress. She can't get Rogue. She can't get Cosmode. So playing her early, super safe. Just throw it down and don't worry about it. But maybe we want to play her on turn 6 so our opponent doesn't see all of that potential power output that we have at our disposal. You turn 5 Sarah, you turn 6 Elsa, Hitmonkey, Mysterio, etc., a bunch of stuff. Fill up a couple of locations to get amazing amounts of power for a huge burst on turn 6 and win 8 cubes. So I like her at every phase of the game. Doesn't matter when we draw her, she's probably going to return good value. Very few counters. We're going to get to the counters next. There are some. And maybe this month actually might bring that deck to fruition just because it counters quite a few cards this month. But there's not a lot. Like I was saying, she dodges a lot of the main meta staple counters, which is great. I love it. And then again, I already said it, but natural, easy condition to me. We're already trying to do that. So what are the cons? Okay, I'm stretching almost here, but you got to stack the location. Maybe that's not easy, you know, like you do have to play 4 cards at a location, and there's going to be the occasional location variance that might make that difficult. Or maybe your opponent's playing Killmonger and destroys the things you're trying to fill that location up with, or they Shang-Chi something. Like there's a couple of things here and there, but I think for the most part, it's going to be pretty easy. And then again, telegraph plays, it's kind of like a pseudo like Jean Grey in a way, like, because if your opponent sees you playing 2 cards at a location and you got Elsa out there, they're probably thinking, well, you're going to want to fill that location. You're trying to get that full so you can start getting the power from Elsa. So they could throw over a goblin or something like that in time to deny you, which we're going to get to that in a little bit. But then question marks, because I don't know what else is bad about this card. Like, I don't know, maybe slightly easy to cut from a list because it doesn't directly synergize with a lot of things, but I think the value is there, which makes me super excited. So let me know in the comments below what you think, if there's any other downsides that I'm missing here. But let's get to the counters. All right, so the biggest counter that I see is Shadow King. So it's buffed power. So any card that receives her benefit is, you know, weak to Shadow King. You can remove it. And if we have it stacked on multiple cards at a single location somehow, or anything like that, like we played Jeff, we moved him, Nightcrawler moved him, they're all at one location, then they get hit by Shadow King, that's going to suck. So you got to watch out for that. Another one that kind of works is Mojo. You're probably looking to stack some locations. Mojo gets up to 8 power easy for 2. That's a nice counter to ELSA Bloodstone, and you don't see Mojo a whole lot, so that's kind of neat. And then Arrow's a pretty good counter in the movement package in general. If your opponent has priority, they play Arrow, and you played that last card at the 4th quadrant of a location, Arrow's going to pull it over to her location. And I didn't get to exactly playtest with this, but this is how I imagine it working, is that Elsa will not be able to read that that was the 4th card played at that location. And then it won't get the buff, but it could go both ways. I just kind of see movement being quite disruptive. That could go for Magneto and stuff like that to maybe pull cards off so that the location is empty as well, right? Polaris pulling that card off, so then there's only 3 and then you whiff, something like that. Debris, Green Goblin, Viper. These are the cards. The stuff decks, everybody. Oh my gosh, that is the #1 counter to Elsa, because they will not get those buffs. It's cards that you played. If your opponent has Elsa and you're playing Green Goblin, you're throwing over rocks, your opponent didn't play those cards. So Elsa's not going to register the buff for those. Even if she did, why do you want a 0 power goblin on your side, right? But they don't. So it's -3. And all that work they were doing to stack up that location to hopefully fill it just got denied because you just slid in a goblin there in the 4th spot, and then they're locked in, and maybe they didn't play very strong things because they were trying to get cards out early, like cheap little 1 costs. And now you got a big swing on your hands, and they got to start stacking elsewhere to get the benefits from Elsa. So I do see that being pretty good. Now, there is the inherent risk that they're trying to fill it as quickly as possible. So if you plan to put a goblin there, but then they fill it, that's going to backfire big time. So gotta watch out. You gotta kind of read and assess how much energy your opponent has, if it's possible for them, what kind of deck they're running. But I really think stuff decks have a good shot at being strong this week. The old junk decks, you know, there's the Man Thing coming out next week or the week after, and he's gonna help them out. And then there's a few other cards that get stuffed that don't want to be stuffed. So yeah, I think that's a pretty decent counter, but otherwise there's not a whole lot that can stop Elsa's effect. And then quickly, the other thing about this is that if you whiff and you don't fill the location, you might be helping the Elsa player, because like Debris is going to give rocks and fill a bunch of spots on the board, and then it gives them more potential to get that value engine going at other locations. So it's good, and it could backfire, which is kind of funny. But anyways, there you go. Let's get to the deck list that I brewed up. All right, I'm super excited about these deck lists. So the cards I've already pretty much talked about with like Jeff, and Mysterio, but other things that are amazing, especially Kitty Pryde. I think that the sole reason that Elsa was nerfed is, not Elsa was nerfed, Kitty was nerfed because of Elsa, because of the combination of the two, and they had to balance it out before it got nuts because being just a 1/0, you play her in the 4th quadrant, she gets +3 power from Elsa's effect. She bounces back to the hand with +1. She's helping all your other cards out like Bishop, Angela, all that stuff. A great value generator. So I got BLOODSTONE over there, and I think this deck is going to be absolutely cracked and take over the meta. This is my #1 deck list, everybody. The value is so good. The consistency is amazing. The turn 6 potential is through the roof when you have Sarah and then you play Hitmonkey. And yeah, we're worried about those Mobius out there and maybe some wave shenanigans, so we're running our own Mobius just to make sure that the ground is neutral on that turn 6 and we don't get disrupted too much, but it doesn't even matter if that hurts us. Now, there's a few cards we could probably exchange. You could probably throw in Jeff in there. You could probably throw in America Chavez there for a little bit more consistency. And I don't even know what you'd end up taking out. I really like Nightcrawler. You could maybe take out Hawkeye, but I like that card as well. So mix and match what you got to do with it. But this type of shell is going to pop off. I'm telling you, it's so good. Straight up just Bass Mysterio, and Elsa alone is insane. With Kitty Pryde, there is so much potential here. I'm excited about it. And then another type of way to play Elsa is in the Destroy package. So not only is it good with Deadpool to give him +3 power, if he ends up the 4th card, you Killmonger off that location to destroy him. That's not too shabby, but obviously not too consistent. But another way is just to use Carnage, Venom, Deathlock. After you fill that location with stuff that you want to destroy, if they're the 4th card, they're going to get the benefit from Elsa, destroy all those things, and then you just keep resetting from there. So you could like do a Deadpool, Nova, Forge into Carnage, and if it gets the buff from Elsa, then it's going to destroy everything, and then you just reset and you'd play like, I don't know, Mobius, Wave, Venom. Venom eats them all up, gets another benefit. Like, there's just a few ways. Now, it's not going to be as repetitive. We're not going to get the benefit from Elsa as much as the BLOODSTONE list, but it works. It works together. If you don't even manage to get a lot of buffs off of Elsa, you get a decent Deadpool. You can then copy it with Taskmaster, or we probably, and I was getting it pretty consistently, discounting death to near 0 so that you can copy it with Taskmaster, which is just great as well. And if I have enough cards out there, we get the buffs from Elsa by playing a very cheap death and then Taskmaster elsewhere. So it's really, really, really good. But probably of the 3, that would be my weaker deck, I would say. The one less likely to take off. But another one that I think is going to take off, and it's already doing just amazing right now in the meta, is this tempo move list, right? So we've been seeing this a lot with Spider-Man activating for Miles Morales, using Silk for just good amount of power. Even got Vision out there. A lot of people are running Shuri in this list. I thought about it. I didn't really want to do that. I wanted to lean more heavily into playing a lot of cards, moving them off of the Elsa location, the filled up location, with their bonus power, so that we set up like an easy Alioth to just like swing the game and win it. Getting an 8 power Alioth isn't too shabby either, just to make sure that you do win that location. But again, we got the Kitty Pryde, the Nightcrawler, the Jeff, buffing up the Craven, Silk's bouncing around. There's just a lot of good to be had with this list, and it's easy power. It's just tempo, tempo, tempo. At turn after turn, you're just pushing out loads of power. You probably have priority right to the final bell, so that Alioth doesn't even need to look at those cards to destroy them. So those are my 3 deck lists. I think BLOODSTONE and Tempo Move, these are going to be really, really strong moving forward, and I can't wait to play them on the live servers. But is Elsa a snap or a pass? Come on, everybody. Of course she's a snap. And you know what? Fair game if you think I'm being biased because I get to feature this card on the official channel or anything like that. Fine. But just look at the card, look at the text, look at the potential. It's just there. It's right in your face. Like it's just going to be a very strong card in Marvel Snap. I have no doubts about that. I think this is an easy snap. It's the season pass card, which is the most accessible. I know that costs money, which for some can be a bit of a bummer, but this is a 5-week season pass. You actually get even more value returned from it, and it's not changing in price. So you open up more of those season caches, more rewards to be had, really cool cosmetics, and the theme is amazing. So yeah, I think this is an easy snap. I'm really excited about it. Guys, 2 announcements. I already mentioned the one about the gameplay video that's going to be with these deck lists and maybe some other spicy ones on the official Marvel Snap channel. So stay tuned, check that out there when it's out next week. But then also I'm going to have an article on CCGHub. This is a brand new website where they're going to take a lot of great content, ad-free content creators of all kinds of different aspects of Snap and other CCGs if you're interested in that. And this is where I'm going to be putting my Snapper Pass articles moving forward. So definitely go check it out. I will have the link in the description to that article when it is posted. So you can guys, I'll have a little bit more details on the deck list and stuff like that, all that good stuff. Okay. So thank you so much for watching. I'm super excited about this card. Snap subscribe if you're new to the channel. We do this every single week with the new cards to get you guys prepared about the mechanics and whether this card is worth picking up. These cards are not cheap. It's important to be educated about what you're getting. There you go. I'm excited. Let's go. Okay. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you guys next time.